have a question about river states. And we saw from the transitional monitoring group early on how their figures diverged quite a bit from the official count in a way that suggested that they must have been manipulated, that it wasn't stuffing, it was manipulation of the results as they moved up the collation chain. The Commission would have caught that eventually, but it would have been after results were announced. What's the status of that? How do you capture that in future? And what's the plan now?
Thank you very much. Rivers had become quite a big issue, but we did our best to be able to have enough information to take an informed decision before results were returned. We received a petition indicating massive irregularities in Rivers State, making allegations about use of fake result sheets, about use of photocopied result sheets, about substitution of trained INEC personnel with partisans who would do the beating of some parties. And in fact, an allegation that in the majority of the polling units in Rivers State that no election had taken place. And they are very, very serious allegations. So immediately, and the letter came before we started compiling and announcing the results. So we immediately constituted a 3-man team of national commissioners with a secretariat to go to Rivers State and investigate these allegations. And of course, we had limited time frame, and they were there, I think, for no more than 12 hours, certainly less than a day. And they came back, and the report they gave us, they investigated all. First of all, it wasn't true that in the majority of polling units, no election took place. In fact, the evidence was that in the overwhelming majority of the polling units, election had taken place. It wasn't true that there were fake result sheets. They couldn't find any. They couldn't find any photocopy. And what they did when they went, they asked for all the result sheets from all the polling units to be brought to them. And when they were brought, they sampled. Of course, they can't go through everything, but they sampled, and they couldn't find any evidence to support the massive allegations. So they came back. When they came back, I also insisted that we needed all the result sheets to be brought to the commission, And when we looked at those result sheets, obviously we couldn't find any substantive evidence to support all these wild allegations. You can see some cases of changes of alteration, but you needed to do further investigation to establish whether they are legitimate alterations of corrections or whether they were fraudulent alterations. And our own legal framework had anticipated these challenges and had provided for their resolution through election tribunals after the election. We didn't have the time, and the legal framework is not clear as to whether we should not announce results until we have done a thorough investigation of petitions. In some countries, the legal framework is very clear. You cannot announce results until all petitions are resolved, and you can take time to do a thorough. In our own legal framework, we couldn't do that. In fact, doing that would have created more tension in the country. So we were satisfied from our investigation, given the limited time we had, that those allegations were in general spurious and were not substantive enough to require a commission either cancelling the election, because that was the request. Mm-hmm. The request is cancel the election. Secondly, reports from organizations like TMG are observer reports. And you don't get observer reports until after the election. And they are only meant to help you improve for the future. While from some NGOs we are receiving telephone calls to say this is what is happening, We have people in the field that we ask to verify every information that came to our situation room. And so we cannot rely on one observer's report to take such weighty decisions as a cancellation of elections in an entire state. So my honest advice is that if there was such a magnitude of irregularity in Rivers, and I'm not saying there are no irregularities, because in all our elections there would be, but they were not to the magnitude that they were made to appear. Now, why was that? Could it be partisan? Could it be, I don't know. Could it be wrong messaging or people being misinformed? I don't know. But it's good to investigate it. But again, as a commission, we feel confident that we have put sufficient measures and checks and balances that if such massive irregularities had occurred, then people should be able to present the evidence to the tribunals, and then the tribunals should be able to make appropriate judgments with regards to the election in Rivers. So we are all now looking, we've committed ourselves to giving all the official information that we have, and of course our politicians, they will also be protesting that our state office is very slow in giving them the documents they require. But anytime we receive that information, we intervene, we say hasten the process, we are not hiding anything, we will not protect any INEC staff who has done anything wrong, give all the information, and let the tribunals decide eventually as to what happened in Rivers or any other state for that matter.